Okay, so now I'm going to talk about some of the different procedures we do to fix people's teeth. Different situations, different problems require different methods in order to restore them the best that they can be restored. Sometimes we can be very conservative, even to a point where we don't remove any tooth at all. That would be like involved in some of my non-prep veneers that I do. And then there's other time when the tooth has to be prepared more, mostly because it's broken down by a large filling or it has cracks in it. And then we put a crown that covers up the whole tooth. So the reasons we might do a crown for a specific tooth would be if it had a large old filling and the tooth is real broken down, and by the time you clean out all the old filling and the decay that may have leaked underneath it, there's just not a whole lot of tooth left. So this allows us to redo the whole tooth, give it the shape that it should have, but make it out of a strong material that will cover it and protect it. The other thing about doing a crown, it's real important that we match it to the other teeth around it. So the color and the shape and the size are very important, but we will match the color to the other teeth around it so that it matches perfectly to your natural teeth. They are incredibly customized. This is not a cookie cutter thing. The tooth is prepared. We make an impression of that tooth so that this crown fits precisely onto that tooth and is sealed all around the edges. The edge of the crown is called the margin, and that's one of the most important places that you want to make sure the fit is precise so that you don't get leakage. This is a single crown. So it's like a bridge, only it's just one tooth where the tooth has to be reduced. And then this crown slips over the tooth and replaces the broken down part of the tooth. But it goes all the way around the tooth. So caring for a crown is like caring for a natural tooth. You want to brush it, you want to floss it. The most important area of a crown is right at the margin where the crown stops and the tooth begins. That's where plaque will tend to accumulate and bacteria will colonize there. And you want to make sure you brush and floss it to keep that away, because that's where the decay will start. The crown itself won't decay. It can't decay, it's porcelain. But right at the edge of the crown where it meets the tooth, that's where it can start to decay. So you want to keep it clean. The one thing you don't want to do is chew real hard things like a cube of ice, or if you have an accident and bite into something you're not meaning to, but like a shell or something in a salad, then things like that can break crowns. They're not indestructible. They're not made out of cast iron. They're made out of porcelain, so they'll look like a tooth, but they are very durable and they can last a long, long time if you take care of them. Another situation that arises is when someone is missing a tooth. So if you have a tooth on one side and a tooth on the other, and you have a space in between. So there are different options that can be done to help repair that. One option is to do a bridge. This is a natural bridge across teeth. So if you have a space between two teeth, you can prepare the teeth for a crown. Now you see we had to reduce these teeth a little bit in order to make something that's going to slip over those teeth. So the bridge fits over the teeth, so it's like if you had the teeth, it flips over those, and then it replaces the one that's missing. So this, where this tooth is missing, is a solid tooth underneath, okay? And it goes on, and it fits like that, and it's cemented on, and it looks like three separate teeth. So again, you take care of them like you would a crown. You want to make sure right at the edge, the margin where the tooth meets the crown, that you keep that clean, because that's where it can start to decay if you let stuff collect there. But you want to keep that clean, you want to brush, and you want to floss underneath the fake tooth in between. So you want to be sure you get underneath there and keep that clean. Same thing with as in a crown. You want to be careful about chewing real super hard stuff, ice cubes, things like that. But other than that, it's a great way to replace a missing tooth. Another option for replacing missing teeth is a dental implant. You can see in here there's an implant inside of what would be the gum tissue. And so the implant is placed, and then we place a crown over the implant. So this is the implant that's up in the tooth, up in the gum, embedded in the bone. And then a crown is made to go over and looks like a natural tooth. Dental implants are now considered kind of the gold standard in replacing teeth. Why? You can do it without having to do something to the teeth on either side. Unlike a bridge where you have to prepare the teeth on both sides of the space for a crown, this, you don't have to do anything. So if you have a space, especially if you have teeth that are in great shape and you don't want to do anything to those teeth, you can place an implant, place a crown on the implant, and replace the space and fill it up. The other thing is, because you're putting the implant in, that implant acts kind of like the root of the tooth. So it has support. It's like a natural tooth. It's stronger. It has its own support system. Instead of like in a bridge where you have the space and the tooth that's missing relies on the other two teeth to give it support. So this way you're replacing the root of the tooth with the implant, and then you're replacing the top part of the tooth with a crown. So that's a great way to replace missing teeth and is really considered the best option for most people. The only time that implants aren't practical is when there's not enough bone, or if on upper teeth, there's the sinus hangs down real low and it could interfere. Sometimes that can be lifted up and the implant can still be placed, or if there's not enough bone, you can have a bone graft to make it more of an area that can accept an implant. I say implants are kind of like planting plants in a planter box. If you have a planter box that's this wide, you can't put a plant in it that's this wide. So you have to make sure you have a big enough planter box to put the plant in. Same thing with an implant. You have to have enough bone to put the implant in, and then you can restore it. So another thing that can be done is porcelain veneers. Porcelain veneers are a thin shell of porcelain that's made to fit over your teeth. Sometimes they can wrap in between the teeth, but usually they're laid over the front of the teeth. If it went all the way around the tooth, then it would technically be a crown. But these are very thin. Now this set right here is actually a set of my non-prep veneers. What's a non-prep veneer? Well, it's a shell of porcelain that's put over the front of your teeth, but we don't have to take your tooth down. So it's very thin. It's kind of like a fake fingernail. And you can actually see light through it. You can see the darkness of my gloves showing through it. So it's very thin. But we were able to make these teeth longer, but I didn't have to take the tooth down. So these veneers just slip right over the front of the teeth. A veneer differs from a crown in that the veneer is just on the front. Sometimes it wraps in between the teeth, depending on if you have space there or not. Or if you have a crowded situation where we're trying to make the teeth look more straight, sometimes we'll wrap them in between to get more proportion. But generally they go over the front of the teeth, whereas a crown wraps all the way around the tooth, so more of the tooth has to be reduced in order for that to happen. But these veneers, the non-prep veneers, are ultra conservative. They're the kind of veneers I try to do, especially on younger people. I've done these on my son-in-law, two of my children, and they work really great and they look really great. So they are very nice, and you're not changing the tooth. So technically, at some point, if these ever had to be removed, and I haven't gotten to that point yet, but if they ever did, then they could be taken off and the teeth would be like they were before we started. Porcelain veneers are cared for just like your teeth. Again, brushing and flossing is critical. Where the veneer meets the tooth up at the gum line is very minimally, but there's a seam there. We will polish that. We will make it as flush as we can, but bacteria will tend to collect in those areas, just like at a crown. So you want to try to keep them very clean at the gum line. You want to floss in between, and you want to avoid biting into hard objects. Another thing I found on veneers, I've had a couple of people that have popped them off eating French bread, where they're tearing the bread and putting a twisting motion on the veneer, and it pops the bond. Hasn't happened a lot, but it has happened a few times. So I tell people, do as the French do. They tear their French bread and eat it instead of trying to rip it with their teeth. But any kind of using your teeth as tools or a torquing motion could damage a veneer, but generally, I've had many of them that just pop off and then we can just rebond them back on. So one of the major makeover things that I do is basically a full mouth reconstruction. This is a model of someone's mouth who every tooth something's been done to. This is a situation where I was able to use in the front porcelain veneers, And then the back teeth, we use crowns. Generally that's done because the molar teeth a lot of times will have large old fillings in them that we need to crown and protect the tooth. But then the front teeth may be chipped or broken down a little bit, but don't need a lot of reduction to make them, to fix them. So we try to be conservative. We don't have to go in and do all crowns or all veneers. They can be mixed and matched. So you can have crowns, veneers up front, and it can all look the same. So this is a full mouth case where these are veneers up in front and crowns in the back. And you can see the veneers don't cover the back of the teeth, but these crowns do cover the inside. The other thing about doing a full mouth case, and the reason we do this a lot of times too, is a lot of people come in and over time they've worn their teeth down. So your teeth act as a doorstop for your chin and your nose. If you didn't have any teeth, you've seen people that wear dentures and their face looks real collapsed and it looks like they're sunken in. This is something that really ages you. And people who have ground their teeth down, over time, they lose what we call the vertical dimension of their bite. So a lot of times when we're doing full mouth cases like this, we're going in and we're opening the people's bite back up to where it was 20 or 30 years ago. In other words, we're providing more vertical dimension here. And one of the things that helps with that is it helps you look younger. It makes your face look more proportionate. It makes it look slenderer. It helps with the opening to where you don't look so closed and aged. So that is one of the things we do when we're doing a full mouth case like this one, is when we do all these teeth, we make these back teeth a little thicker so that when you close down, you can't close down as far as you normally would. And it holds you in that position. And it restores your bite to where you were in your 20s. So it's a great way to help get a more youthful smile. I call it a smile lift because it's actually like getting a mini facelift, but getting it with your teeth. So another thing we can do, we showed at one point what we call a bridge, where you have teeth, you have two teeth and a space in between them, and you go and you prepare the teeth on either side of the space for a crown, and then you make a bridge, which is three-piece tooth piece that fits right over the teeth on either side and replaces the missing tooth. That's what you do if you have natural teeth there and you want to do this type of bridge. But sometimes some people are missing all these teeth in the back. So how do we do something that you can put in your mouth, it can be fixed in your mouth, not something you take in and out like a denture or a partial, but something that acts like regular teeth if you're missing multiple teeth in the back? That is where we can use implants, and we can either do a bunch of individual implants and give you teeth back there, or sometimes we utilize doing implants that you can see are in the gum here, but we don't do each tooth, we do it like an implant bridge. So it's the same concept as a normal bridge, where you have the space in between two teeth, but the teeth now are implants, and you make a similar three-tooth prosthetic that goes in, and it's cemented onto those implants, and it replaces the missing tooth and it covers the other two implants. So it's three teeth, just like the other three-tooth bridge is three teeth, but this one is made on actual teeth and this one is made on implants. Implants are an amazing advancement in dentistry. People that have removable partials or dentures that have been having to struggle with those for years because they're loose, they're not fixed in their mouth, they tend to wobble, they tend to fall out, they can get loose. Now with dental implants, we can not only replace those missing teeth and do fixed bridges, but we also have an appliance called an all-on-4. An all-on-4 is a denture type appliance. It's all the teeth that can affix to 4, 5, 6 implants and be tightened into your mouth. It stays in your mouth. It looks like natural teeth. It looks like having a mouthful of these crowns or veneers, and yet it covering all, but it doesn't cover your palate like a normal denture would. Normal dentures get their suction, get their ability to stay in your mouth by covering your whole palate, and it's fixed in there with the suction. With a dental implant supported denture, you have a U shape of teeth. You don't have anything in the palate, and these are anchored to implants, and they're screwed in, and it stays in. It doesn't come in and out at night. You don't have to have the glass with the water beside the bed. You keep your teeth in, it stays in, and it's incredibly strong. It's fixed in, it's stable. You don't have the problems that people have with removable dentures. So in conclusion, these are just a few of the procedures that we do here at the Texas Center for Cosmetic Dentistry. Every smile is unique. Some people need implants, some don't. Some need veneers, some need crowns. Some can even use bonding, which is a tooth-colored plastic material that we use to bond to your teeth that can make them look great too. Everybody's different, and we don't have just a cookie-cutter approach to any smile. It's not a one-size-fits-all. We customize every smile to look the best it can and to be as strong and as durable as it can. So come see us. We can work up a plan. There can be options for most people. They can go one or two different ways. So we want to give you those options and let you know what we think would be best for you.